17. The Valley of Shadows. When the first pain of knowing Beth's illness was over, the family accepted what would come and tried to help one another. They put away their grief and did what they could to make the last year a happy one. Beth had the nicest room in the house. Everything she loved was put there. Flowers, pictures, her piano, and her cats. Father's best books, Mother's chair, Joe's desk, and Amy's finest drawings were also there. Every day, Meg brought her babies to bring joy to Auntie Beth. John set aside some money to give Beth the fruit she loved. Hannah made special foods to help Beth's appetite, crying as she worked. Nothing changed in Beth's sweet and unselfish personality. Even as she prepared to leave life, she tried to make it happier for the ones who would stay behind. She enjoyed making little things for the school children passing by, sometimes dropping a pair of mittens out the window. The children thought of her as a fairy godmother, showering gifts on them.
The first few months were happy with everyone sitting in her room. It was a peaceful time given to them before the sad hours to come. Soon, Beth said that the needles she sewed with were too heavy and put them down forever. Talking tired her and faces upset her. She was filled with pain. There came long nights and heavy days. Everyone's heart ached as they prayed. Those who loved her most were forced to see thin hands stretched out to them and cry out, "Help me, help me." As her body completely weakened, Beth's soul grew strong. Though she said little, everyone knew she was ready. Joe never left her after Beth said, "I feel stronger when you are here." She slept on a couch in the room and woke up often to feed or wait on her sister, who rarely asked for anything. Many times when she woke up, Joe would see Beth reading her Pilgrim's Progress book or hear her softly singing. Sometimes she had her face in her hands, tears dropping through the thin fingers.
One night, Beth found a little piece of paper written by Joe. She decided to read it while Joe was asleep. It was a beautiful poem written about Beth. Joe wrote of all the things that Beth was in life, the sweet, kind, and patient person. Joe asked that Beth would leave these things to her and help Joe become a better person. It meant so much to Beth to know that her simple life had not been useless. When Joe woke, Beth said, "I found this and read it. Have I been all this to you?" Joe put her head next to Beth's. "Oh, Beth, so much." "I'm not afraid of death anymore," Beth said. "You must take my place, Joe, and be everything to Mother and Father. Remember that love is the only thing that we can carry with us when we go. It makes the end so easy." "I'll try," Joe said. She promised herself a new and better desire in life.
The spring days came and went. The flowers bloomed and the birds came back in time to say goodbye to Beth. She clung to the hands that had led her all of her life as father and mother guided her through the valley of the shadow and gave her up to God. As Beth had hoped, the tide went out easily. In the dark hour before the morning, she quietly drew her last breath. Mother and her sisters cried as they saw the beautiful peace on Beth's face that had replaced all that pain. When morning came, the fire was out, and Joe's place was empty. The room was still, but a bird sang on a nearby branch. Sunshine came in the window onto the peaceful face on the pillow. Her face was so full of painless peace that they all smiled through their tears and thanked God that Beth was finally well.
Chapter 18. Laurie and Amy. The speech that Amy had given Laurie in Nice did him good, but he would not admit it for a long time afterward. Whenever he felt joy or sadness, he put it into a song. The next time his grandfather found Laurie getting tired of being quiet, he ordered him to go somewhere. Laurie went to Vienna to visit musical friends, but soon he found that the kind of music he tried was too hard. Instead, he thought of the dancing tunes from the Christmas ball in Nice. For a while, he tried to write operas. Finally, he tore up his sheets of music. He decided Amy was right and he could not be what he wasn't. Now what shall I do?
He thought the job of forgetting his love for Joe would take up all of his energies for years. but he was surprised to find that it became easier every day. He tried to make himself feel the same love, but soon found that his boyish love was going away. But he could not give up trying. He grabbed a pen and paper and wrote to Jo. He told her he could not do anything else until he knew that there was no hope of changing her mind. She wrote back that she couldn't love him and was way too busy taking care of Beth. She begged him to be happy with someone else. She also asked him not to tell Amy that Beth was worse. He decided to write to Amy, who wrote back how homesick she was. Soon their letters were going back and forth. He went back to Paris, hoping Amy would ask him to come make nice, but Amy was having her own life, and she did not wish Laurie to see.
Fred Vaughn had returned and asked her to marry him. She changed her answer from yes to no thank you. She decided she needed more than money and fame. Laurie's face kept returning to her thoughts. Amy told Laurie in her next letter that Fred had gone to Egypt. Laurie was glad to hear it, but he felt sorry for Fred. He knew what it was like to be turned down. Sadly, the letter telling Amy that Beth was dying never reached her. When the next letter did arrive, Beth was already buried. Her family had said that she should not shorten her visit, since it was too late to say goodbye to Beth. They hoped her absence would make her sadness easier. But she wanted to be home, and every day she waited for Laurie to come and comfort her. The moment Laurie read his own letter from home about Beth, he packed up and went to Amy. He found her in an old garden, leaning her head on her hand. She was homesick and thinking of Beth. Laurie watched her for a moment, seeing her with new eyes. When she saw him, she ran to him.
"Oh, Laurie, I knew you'd come to me." They knew then what was important. Amy felt no one could comfort her as well as Laurie. He decided Amy was the only woman in the world who could fill Joe's place and make him happy. They talked of their loss. The moment her aunt saw Amy's face, she understood that Amy had been longing for Laurie all along. She invited Laurie to stay. Laurie was never lazy there. He walked, rode, boated, and studied, while Amy was happy with everything he did. In spite of their sorrow, it was a very happy time. Laurie did not rush telling her he loved her. They both knew it, and in the garden they decided they would become engaged.